Welcome back. After a decade-long fight, the two main Palestinian political parties, Fatah and Hamas, signed a reconciliation deal in Cairo today. The two organizations will join their forces in an interim government, and they have agreed on holding fresh elections in 1 year. Hamas pledged to hand over the administrative control of the Gaza Strip. The southern Rafah border crossing between Gaza and Egypt will be put under the control of the Presidential Guard. The Rafah border was previously controlled by Hamas's military wing, and it is the easiest way for goods and people to enter and exit the isolated Gaza Strip. The Palestinian delegation, however, did not discuss about what the major bone of contention really is, the fate of the Hamas military wing, the Al-Qassam brigades. The Palestinian president had requested Hamas to dismantle their 25,000 men strong militia and merge it with the regular army. Hamas has firmly refused, saying that the fate of its paramilitary brigade was not on the table. Hamas spokesperson said the delegation will discuss this point in a second round of negotiation. Hamas, remember, won the election in Gaza in 2006, and after a year-long military conflict, pushed out Fatah from the Strip and assumed full control of the territory. In retaliation, Israel locked all access to and from Gaza, and for the nearly 2 million citizens of the isolated Strip, life has been growing grimmer by the day. And this is how things stand. The big question, of course, is what does this deal mean and what does it entail if the Al-Qassam brigade is not going to be dismantled? Here's a closer look at how the key players in the region see this development and who benefits the most.
Regarding this deal, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, said that we expect everyone who talks about a peace process to recognize the state of Israel and, of course, the Jewish state. We cannot accept a fake reconciliation on the Palestinian side that comes at the expense of our existence. Bitter for Hamas could be less dangerous under a united Palestinian front. A united Palestine will have more international legitimacy. President Mahmoud Abbas supports diplomatic talks with Israel, while Hamas supports violence. And Hamas could end up truly be the one in control of the new alliance. In fact, Hamas could gain a foothold in the Fatah-ruled West Bank. The Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that Russia, in coordination with some Arab countries, is in close contact with Fatah and Hamas to persuade them to return to the reconciliation agreement. Russia is using this deal to show its prominent role in West Asia. Russia can show the US failures in bringing stability to the region. Iran is also watching very closely. Tehran reconciled with Hamas after disagreement over the Syrian war. Iran is also funding Hamas military and considers it an anti-Israel asset. The reconciliation will push Hamas away from Iranian influence, and a united Palestinian front will be more friendly towards Israel. The USA has waited and watched till the end of the negotiation, but the USA considers Hamas a terrorist organization. Washington, though, wants to limit Iranian influence in West Asia. If Hamas gains the upper hand in this game, Iran will benefit. The talks were held in Cairo, Egypt's capital city. Egypt is hosting the leaders and mediating the deal. Cairo wants to be seen as the only one capable to broker a deal. Bureau Report, WION.
And with us in the studio, my colleague Daniele Pagani and Arsen Ostrovsky, international human rights lawyer and political analyst with us from Tel Aviv. Good evening. Daniele, what does this deal rather mean if they're not going to talk about the militia?
Very little, very little. First of all, we have to keep in our mind that this is probably the first round of two negotiations. This is not the first time these two factions meet. They have always failed when they tried to find a solution for their rivalry. The Al-Qassam Brigade is a major player in this role. The Al-Qassam Brigade was made in order to tackle and attack Israel. The Al-Qassam Brigade is where the soul and mind of Hamas truly lies. Without their military wing, Hamas are, I would say, kind of lost. They mean nothing, because what do you mean if you don't have a 25,000 army in order to back you if you're only present in Gaza? According to me, it will be impossible that Hamas will renounce to these 25,000 men strong militia. It's impossible. It's their leverage for each and every negotiation in West Asia.
Arsen, what do you make of this deal? They haven't addressed the elephant in the room.
You're right. I mean, look, I think from Israel's point of view, we've seen this movie before. We've seen these deals enacted, only to fall apart later. But I think from the point of view here, it will only reinforce the view that Israel does not have a legitimate partner for peace. You know, Jerusalem is only about 1/5 of the distance from Ramallah than the Gaza Strip is. And what we see is Mahmoud Abbas's Fatah party, instead of taking up one of Israel's repeated offers to negotiate, are instead striking a unity deal with Hamas, which, as you noted in the beginning, has adamantly said that they will refuse to disarm their weapons. And without that, I think this deal is, one, useless, and two, just shows that from Israel's point of view, there's really not much further to go in discussing any kind of reasonable peace terms as long as Hamas remains committed to Israel's destruction.
It's interesting you say that. 2 days back, I spoke to Dr. Michael Oren, the Deputy Minister in the PMO, and he used the exact same phrase. We've seen this movie before, so perhaps Israel has also practiced its responses. What's in it for Fatah, though?
Well, Fatah, this is an interesting question because it seems that in this game, Fatah is actually the most powerful player within the Palestinian scenario, whereas I think it's not the case. Because, as we were discussing also, Hamas enjoys a larger support in the West Bank, and Hamas already has the control over Gaza. Hamas as a militia, 25,000 men. What has Fatah on the other hand? Fatah has a government, a pretty shaky one, which is only based out of West Bank. So at the end of the day, perhaps this could be a game that Hamas is playing, knowing that Fatah is trying to take the lead in a game where they will be actually in command. Because, okay, the Palestinian president will be, the Palestinian Authority will be Mahmoud Abbas. He will formally be the head, but not always who is at the head of a government actually rules a country. And perhaps this is the game. So I think that Fatah is trying to take the lead, but is risking a lot, because perhaps he's not the strongest between the two fighters.
Right. Abbas is also in the 13th year, or the 11th year of his 6-year presidency, 13th. So, but they have spoken about elections next year, Arsen, and how would this deal and what follows change Israel's engagement with the Palestinian Authority? Because we do understand that you have intelligence sharing. How much will change?
Look, first of all, I wanted to assure you that I did not discuss this with Michael Oren, although I think our views, I think it's fairly widely shared view from the mainstream position here in Israel. Look, from the perspective here again, I think Israel will be far more cautious. We saw what happened after in 2006 when Hamas literally took over the Gaza Strip and Fatah. So we've seen this before, and we know how strong their militia, the fighters are, certainly as compared to the West Bank, where in many ways I think Abbas's Fatah party, really their existence relies to a very heavy extent on their security cooperation with Israel. But I think moving forward, as long as Hamas remains in this unity government and as long as they have a an input in the decision-making process, Israel will be a lot more I think a lot more conservative in terms of what information it shares and the extent of their cooperation. I think it will certainly have an effect on any political discussions which move forward for the peace process, which, again, from Israel's perspective, there's really not much to discuss as long as Hamas remains in the Palestinian government.
The people who would benefit almost certainly and immediately, would you say, are people living in the Gaza Strip?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, let's not forget that Gaza, because of the fight between Hamas and the Palestinian Authority, have been suffering. There is barely electricity, sewage is rotting under the sun, there is no medical access. The situation for the people in Gaza, for the common people, is very high. And there is a limit to the amount of sacrifice that you can request to your own people for the cause. And this is what is driving Hamas right now to get out in the open and try to seek somehow a sort of dialogue with Hamas. So yes, if this will become actually a stable agreement between the two, if there will be elections, if there will be, let's say, if the situation will be normalized, yes, the people of Gaza will be relieved. Israel is pretty much keen to at least reopen a bit the borders if the unity comes into being. The same Egypt, so goods will be flowing, people could access and it will be definitely better for the people. Yes, undoubtedly.
Right. So the second round of talks is yet to begin. I'm going to thank you both, Daniele Pagani, Arsen Ostrovsky. Thanks for joining us on Gravitas. The United States, meanwhile, has dumped UNESCO, accusing the body of having an anti-Israel bias. America's decision to withdraw from UNESCO goes back to 2011 and the move to grant Palestine full membership to the body. Washington opposes any move by United Nations bodies to recognize Palestine as a state. The head of UNESCO called America's move a loss to multilateralism. France's envoy to the UN expressed regret over the American decision, saying that America needs to stay committed to world affairs.
It's certainly not up to me, of course, to react officially to the American decision with respect to UNESCO. What I can say is that UNESCO is about promoting our ideals and values through culture, education, and science. These values and ideals are very much part of France's DNA, but also America's DNA. And this is why it is so important to have our American friends on board. I would add now more than ever, as these values are contested and as we need an America that stays committed to world affairs.
Now, ahead of next month's ASEAN summit, Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte has ordered police to end all operations on his deadly war on drugs. This comes after a 15-month-long campaign during which officers killed thousands in the name of a crackdown on drugs.
This was the aftermath of Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte's war on drugs. Thousands of extrajudicial killings by police in the name of a bloody crackdown on drugs left the nation seething and demanding answers. Now, after a 15-month-long campaign, Duterte has pulled the police out of the operation and handed it over to the Philippines Drug Enforcement Agency. What has led to this change of heart is unclear, but the timing is conspicuous. It comes a month ahead of the ASEAN summit in Manila. Duterte's popularity has been especially waning after the killing of a 17-year-old student by the police, which triggered massive public outrage. The Philippines police claims to have killed more than 3,900 drug personalities since July last year. But activists say these are alleged drug users and suspected small-time dealers. They are pegging the death toll in Duterte's war on drugs at 13,000. The Philippines Drug Enforcement Agency's 1,800 staff make up just 1% of the 160,000 strong police force, which means that the new order could significantly reduce the extrajudicial killings. But for those who have lost loved ones in this bloody war, it could be too little, too late. Bureau Report, WION.
Trouble is mounting for media mogul Harvey Weinstein, who is facing serious allegations of sexual abuse by some of the leading ladies in Hollywood. Organizers of the Oscars are set to meet on Saturday to discuss his membership with the Academy. Here's a quick look at the biggest scandal Hollywood has seen in recent times.
The Harvey Weinstein sex abuse scandal now has political hues. After former US President Barack Obama strongly condemned the movie mogul who now faces multiple sexual harassment allegations, Hillary Clinton has now declared that she plans to donate the money she received from Weinstein to charity. She joins other Democratic politicians who have pledged to donate Weinstein's contributions. Multiple allegations against Harvey Weinstein leading to one question: is this the end for the Hollywood mogul? Earlier, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences had said that it would hold a special meeting on Saturday to discuss Harvey Weinstein's membership in the wake of multiple sexual harassment allegations against the Oscar-winning film producer. In the latest backlash coming in for Weinstein, the Cannes Film Festival has reacted, saying they have been dismayed to learn of the accusations of harassment and sexual violence against Weinstein. The festival statement goes on to say, "Our thoughts go out to the victims, to those who have had the courage to testify, and to all the others. May this case help us once again to denounce all such serious and unacceptable practices." Weinstein, who has been a regular face at the festival for years, has denied having non-consensual sex with anyone. French actress Léa Seydoux and British actress and model Cara Delevingne are among the latest stars to accuse Weinstein of inappropriate behavior. The list of those accusing him includes Angelina Jolie, Asia Argento, Gwyneth Paltrow, Rosanna Arquette, Catherine Kendall, Mira Sorvino and Laurence Sivan. What's the action that Weinstein has faced so far? The British Academy of Film and Television has suspended him, this after he was removed from the Weinstein Company. He is also to be taken off the Weinstein Company TV and movie credits, while his company is exploring an overall name change. Hollywood now stands united against Harvey Weinstein, but this after decades of silence on its open secret. Bureau Report, WION.